It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. Thedartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Good to be here.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
December 18th.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, December 18th.
Oh, you actually knew the date today.
Because my sister is turning the big 5-0.
Oh, nice.
So if she's listening, happy birthday,
Or
Paula.
it's exactly a week before Christmas, so it could have been another way you could have figured that out.
Well, yes.
25 minus 7.
Yes. Except that, my sister's turning 50, and that takes priority over, basic
That's the trump
math.
card.
We're going to talk about
happy
basic
birthday to
math.
your sister.
Well, yeah.
She's turning 50 or she?
Well, she's
turned 50.
Well, I don't know what time of day she was born. I'll have to ask my mom, but yeah.
She doesn't have much time left.
50 years old, so she's got 22 years on me. She may still outlive me. You never know.
Oh, probably.
She doesn't have as many vices.
Keep doing this show, she'll outlive you.
We are brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. And thanks also Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. How was your weekend?
It was all right. I didn't really do much. I put up Christmas decorations, and now my Christmas tree doesn't work. It stayed lit for 2 days and went out yesterday. All the lights, everything. Very upsetting.
I don't know where they make Christmas lights, but they never, I don't know why you don't just throw them out with the tree, because they never seem to work the next year. There's always one light.
They've been working for years, but it's just...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Out.
You're ahead of the game then.
So I have a decorated tree that doesn't light as of right now. So other than that, I'm doing fine. How about you?
My advice is avoid candles.
I was thinking maybe I'll just get a spotlight, stick it under the tree, turn it on. Maybe it'll light it up enough.
I had planned to spend almost 26 straight hours watching online darts.
Right.
Starting, and I almost made it. I mean, they had 2 sessions of the PDC on Saturday, which started, I think, at like 7 o'clock our time here. And then they had the DPNY Grand Final that they were streaming, so I got to watch that. And then Darts Live, just killing me. These guys are just killing me. They show top 64 matches all year round.
Yeah.
Right? It starts at like 1 o'clock Chicago time, and it runs till, 8 or 9 in the morning, depending on how long it takes these guys. Nothing till 4.
In the morning.
And they only showed top 8.
Really?
So, yeah. And to be honest, I think it's
Well, why did they do
silly.
it differently this time?
Well, I think there's logistical issues because they actually have the final in a different location than they have the rest of the matches. Yeah, and I just think it's... I mean, I put out odds.
Right.
Which admittedly were totally fantastic because
Okay.
I put odds out on like 19 or 20 people, all sorts of people complaining. Larry Butler was like 25-1.
Was this was after the playing games?
Yeah,
Yes,
after the playing
right.
games when we saw who was in. So
Right.
like and we saw like who was playing who. Once we had the final 64 matches,
Right.
I put out odds and then I actually amended them once, right? Everybody's complaining, oh, well, Larry Butler's 25-1. Oh, I had 50 on that, 50 on that. The 2 guys that made the final were in the field, which I was like estimating at like 65-1.
Okay.
So literally, if I would have taken everyone's action that we're all complaining about the odds, I'd have cleaned up. Like Ray Carver went off at 8-1.
Right.
Right. He made the semis.
Was
but
he
didn't
upset
win.
that he was 8-1?
I didn't talk to him.
Oh.
But, no, I mean, there were a lot of people criticizing the odds, and the odds were impossible. And I tried to explain why such good players were their odds were so long. I mean, on the surface, you would think, a guy like, Tom Sawyer at 25-1, how do you not bet on the guy? Well, he's in a bracket with all these other good players.
Yeah.
And the way I worked it in my mind is if you just play that bracket 10 times, how many times is he going to win? Or how many times is that guy going to win? How many times is that guy going to win? Now, you still have to, beat the other people. This is just to get into, like, top 16.
Correct. Right.
Because, they're all kind of playing each other. They were like two loaded brackets. One guy had what looked like a cakewalk to me. And, some of the darts live seeds were a little bit deceptive because, you get kind of attendance points. So there were a couple of guys that, I kind of looked at. I was like, well, and I don't know these guys that well. So admittedly, this was a difficult thing to do. But like, most people who criticize, they offer nothing in return.
Of course.
So it's
Right.
awesome. We like that kind of thing.
Well, most times people set odds. They don't set it on odds of the field they're playing. They set them on odds of their past performances.
Well, you have, at the beginning of a tournament, you have odds to win.
Yes.
Right? But you can also put odds on individual matches. I didn't have time to do that. So
No,
I didn't do that,
I understand that. The NCAA doesn't seed teams on, or Vegas doesn't seed teams in the NCAA tournament on what bracket they're in. Basically, if you're,
No, but they determine the odds based on what bracket you're in. I mean, if you're in the same bracket with Kentucky versus the same bracket as, like, the Little Sisters of Mary, who's going to have better odds? They, of course, do that. I mean, because as soon as you get the top 64 teams that you're going to give the odds on, you have the brackets.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're going to look at the brackets.
I don't think
to
they
set
look at
the
them
odds.
that much.
Oh, well. I would think that they analyze all sorts of stuff.
Well,
but
maybe.
anyway, I made a crack. I made an attempt to, do the odds because, we're about covering darts as a sport.
Right.
These guys are about promoting the thing as a sport. So we did generate a lot of, chatter and, people didn't like the odds. People thought this was, should have been
Sure.
this. That's fine.
That's understandable.
It's like college football.
Yeah.
You argue about everything.
Right.
Right? Because
Exactly.
God forbid you actually play. Right? But then they only stream the top 8. And I'm just throwing up my hands like, what are you guys thinking? Right?
when they've streamed top 64 all year long.
Yeah. They go from a 9-hour stream to like a 4-hour stream
Right.
or a 3-hour stream. It turned out to be longer because some of the matches were long, and they were compelling. We had some Americans getting through, and we'll get to the soft tip stuff later in the show. I want to start with the PDC stuff because there was one match that I thought was really the most fascinating dart match I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, and it was fascinating on a number of levels. But you've got the results so far in the PDC, except
Yes.
the very last match. So why don't you just really quick just read them off?
PDC results so far.
Yeah, this is for the Ladbrokes World Championship, and this is the first round. So all the winners are now into the round of 32.
All right. Robert Thornton beat Magnus Karras 3-1. I'm assuming he
Lung
lost.
Chung Nam, beat Paul Welge 4-1.
Okay.
Right. That's some of these where you see the score 4-1 or
That's
something.
the
The
way it
play-in matches are best of 7.
Oh, okay. Paul Nicholson won 3-0 over Stompy. Adrian Lewis 3-1 over Gino Voss. Kevin Painter 3-0 over Leung Chun Nam. Wayne Jones loses 0-3 to Jerry Hendricks. Daryl Gurney 4-3 over Robert Marajanovic. Richie Burnett 3-2 over James Hubbard. Terry Jenkins 3-0 over Steve Brown. Andy Smith loses 1-3 to Daryl Gurney. Dave Chisnell 3-0 over Shane Tichowich. Max Hopp 4-1 over Charles Peterson. John Part 3-0 over Joe Cullen. Phil Taylor 3-0 over Michael Mansell. Dennis Ovens with an asterisk 3-2 over Max Hopp. Brandon Dolan 3-0 over Mark Jones. Jarko Kamula loses 2-4 to Johnny Havisto. Andy Hamilton wins 3-1 over James Richardson. Raymond Van Barneveld 3-0 over Michael Smith. Gary Anderson wins 3-1 over Janny. How did he play twice?
Because he won his prelim,
Oh,
and
okay.
so they play later in the day.
Backwards.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then Janny Havistow loses to Gary Anderson 3-1. Peter Wright 3-0 over Aaron Monk. Carlos Rodriguez loses 2-4 to John Bowles. Mark Webster 3-1 over Ian White. James Wade 3-0 over Peter Hudson. John Bowles then wins again over Jamie Caven. Steve Beaton 3-0 over Kyle Anderson. James Lewis beats Lawrence Illigan.
No, Lawrence Illigan won
sorry,
that.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Sorry,
He
Lawrence Illigan.
should have. He was up 3-1, but
Maybe that's what I was thinking. Lawrence Illigan wins 4-3 over Jamie Lewis. Wes Newton wins 3-0 over Johnny Haynes. Dean Winstanley wins 3-2 over Mervyn King.
yeah, the last match there is after I printed it up. Lawrence Illigan lost at Colin Osborne.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Isn't he a number one seed in his bracket?
that was in Hong Kong.
Oh, that was in Hong Kong.
Yeah, this is today was the first day of the Jet Lag
Right.
Open.
Yes.
All the Hong Kong guys coming
Flew
in
over here, right.
So tomorrow, Darren Young's going to play, and Haruko Matsuyama's playing, and then Paul Lim plays the day after.
Okay.
So they all flew over, from Hong Kong.
Right.
Thanks,
From
chat
Sunday,
room.
right?
Yeah, Colin Osborne won 3-0. He really shouldn't have. I mean, I don't know. I got a lot to say about a lot of these PDC matches. I'm going to start with Peter Wright, who is one of the guys on the PDC that I know pretty well.
Okay.
I mean, literally, they're interviewing him after the match. He guarantees he's going to beat Michael Van Gerwen.
Guarantees it.
Just guarantees
Yeah.
it. And implies Van Gerwen may not get out of the first round.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, this has to be some sort of head game. These guys both kind of came from the BDO and must have knocked heads back there. Peter Wright's got to be 20 years older than him, and it's one of these things that I have noticed.
How many matches would they have to win in order to play each other?
Well, if Van Gerwen wins his first round match, which is a top 64 match, then they play in top 32. Wright's already through. Van Gerwen hasn't played yet.
Okay.
So,
do you think he's trying to get into Van Gerwen's head before
I
he
think
plays?
he absolutely is.
Before his next match or his
and to be honest, I don't think it's a good idea. I mean,
to piss him off.
to like publicly call a guy out and say I'm going to beat you.
Yeah.
And it was a very odd. Most of these guys, when they get in front of the TV cameras, very few of them say anything really objectionable.
Okay.
Right? I mean, they're pretty polite and they're on their best behavior and everything. John Part was funny. John Part played very well and won 3-0. The match was closer than the score indicated, I believe is the cliche we're supposed to use there. And the only thing he could talk about in his post-match interview, because after the matches, they're giving these guys like 5-10 minutes to talk, depending on kind of what's going on. All he could talk about was the fact that there wasn't a mural of him up in the dart hall. Apparently there's murals of like Phil Taylor and a couple of other guys, and he's feeling totally disrespected.
Right.
And
okay.
When I first heard him talking about it, I was kind of like, I wonder if he's being a little oversensitive about it. I mean, he has won the world championship in that venue twice.
Right.
Which ought to count for something.
You would think.
And in John's mind, he's kind of like, what the heck? But, I was listening to the announcers do the Colin Osborne, Lawrence Illigan match. And, I mean, they're Brits. They're polite. But there's a certain condensation and a certain arrogance in the way they perceive darts that are thrown by somebody who isn't from Britain that I find it just makes me bristle.
Okay.
It's
Sure.
just I'm kind of like, so
is it more?
So is it DNA?
Disrespectful?
Well, yeah, I think it is,
so to speak.
I think they're disrespectful to the rest of the world except the Dutch.
Yeah.
I think and if you listen to how they talk about the players, they're homers. They're total homers.
Okay.
And I was just sort of listening to this, and I'm like, oh, these guys, give me a break. Like, nobody on earth can throw a dart except somebody from Britain. I know some Brits that come to Chicago, and they have a British accent, and they're like, oh, I play darts. And after I wipe the floor with them and they buy me a beer, I shake my head. I'm like, how much did you play over there? Because all I hear about is how you can walk into any bar in England and get killed by their league players, who are all in the BDO, which, let me tell you something about the BDO. They just made my hit list.
Okay.
Where are we on time? Because I am, like, really riled now.
We got a minute or so for a break. Unless you want to take it now.
All right, you know what? Let's read this into the record. Ted Northrup from I think he's from Pennsylvania brought to my attention that the BDO changed the rule for people that are going to play in BDO events. So let's read the rule, the thing that starts in quotes here, and we'll take our first break.
180-day ban rule.
Right.
Quote, must not in the 180 days preceding the commencement of the relevant qualifying event have been a member of any organization that is not recognized by the BDO or have participated in any event that is not recognized by the BDO. A player may apply to the BDO Board of Directors for a waiver of this condition due to exceptional circumstances, and the BDO Board of Directors shall determine in its discretion whether to grant such waiver.
Yeah, I think, we're going to take this in front of the Dart Talk Board of Directors.
Yeah.
And we're going to ban the BDO from all sorts of things. I find this very outrageous, so we'll get back to it. We'll take our first break. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back for the second quarter. Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks Redwood Darts and Windy City Fabricators. And I'm still mad.
And you're still
uptight. Because here's the writing on the wall, and it's official, right? The BDO is going to ban, for sure, anybody who's an official Darts Live player.
Right.
And I don't think the Darts Live players even care. Right, but because Darts Live is now associated with the PDC, the BDO's first reaction is, well, let's ban all their players, and let's ban anybody. The other thing is it's going to be, if you now play in these WDS events that are associated with the PDC,
then you can't play in
the BDO things, which is like, who cares anyway?
The PDC doesn't ban any BDO players.
Well, no, they actually invite them.
Right.
I mean, it's sort of like the last. It's like when you try to rescue somebody from drowning and they try to strangle you on the way down. That's how I perceive the BDO to be.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I mean, they're just like,
they want to bring you with them.
They're DOFs.
Is that what you're saying?
They're a bunch of DOFs, and I am sick of dealing with people like this. And let me tell you something. If you're starting an organization from scratch and you're trying to create something. If you have the wrong people at the top, you're doomed to fail.
Sure.
It's like having Rex Grossman as your quarterback. No matter what you do, the guy's going to shoot you in the foot.
Yeah, but he's still making a living as a second stringer.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't get in the game.
Right.
Somebody's got to carry a clipboard, wear a hat, and kiss the coach's patootie, right? DOFs, man, I'm telling you. Got to get rid of them. Got to get rid of these
Still
people
trying to
somehow.
figure out what that means.
Doddering old fools.
Doddering old fools.
DOFs,
Okay.
yeah, doddering old fools. Got to get rid of them.
Can honestly say I've never heard that term before, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yes. Okay,
honestly.
well, I used to be good with TLAs, but I don't really use them much anymore.
Okay.
You know what TLA is,
No.
right? 3-letter acronym.
Oh, there you go.
God, we're
That makes
educational
sense.
today, right? So anyway, I found that kind of remarkable that they would take this step, and I think as players should be so outraged at the BDO's
play.
arrogance, they should tell the BDO to take a
Flying leap.
at a rolling donut
There you go. Okay.
and put it on YouTube for all to see.
Right.
DOF's taking a flying leap at a rolling donut. I'm up for that. I would like to see that. It go viral.
It might.
No, seriously. I mean, it's like, your dart players, you're looking for a game, and then you got to deal with an organization like
Right.
this, which is like, okay, you're from out of town, right? Our league players, if they show up every week, they get in the tournament. You have to qualify and not play in anybody we don't like or join an organization that we decide we don't like. What is that? It's the backyard open, right? And
Sure.
the more people you ban, the less meaningful it is. So now you're going to have a world championship where you're excluding most of the world.
the top
Why don't
players.
you have it in your garage and play your wife and have, like, the family championship?
Well, they might do that too. They have the traveling.
It's
plaque.
like, how are you going to promote a sport that's run like this?
They say the same thing's happening in the soft tip world too.
Well, the soft tip world is different. The soft tip world it's all based on capitalism and on commercial competition. I got something to say about commercial competition too, and we've said before this is stupid that they should be banning each other's players,
Yes,
and it's
exactly.
going to come to a head because it's just getting to the point where it's like, okay, you can't play that machine, you can't have this machine in this bar, and la di da di da. At some point, anybody who wants to play for real is just going to say, you know what, I don't need you.
Yeah.
I don't really need you. And when you lose the good players, you become completely and utterly a recreational league with nothing to play for.
Well, what is
which
the
is pretty much
BDO's
what they're at now.
What is the BDO's purpose? That you could possibly think of. What is the positive outcome of this?
To try to fob themselves off as something they're not. They're trying to fob themselves off as like some dart ruling body. And they've been at this for 20 years, and the PDC has absolutely cleaned their clock.
And
There's
so they
more
think
money in
by
the
banning
PDC.
more players, it's going to.
I don't know. It's kind of like banning union rights in Michigan. It's just it's
Right.
people who have the authority right now, and they want some revenge.
Right.
So that's what they're doing.
With no
it doesn't make
really-
any sense.
Yeah.
It flies in the face of common sense, history, good business practices, and I don't know, good taste.
Sure.
Which for the Brits, I thought they were into.
But so
good
you don't. I
taste.
mean, there's
so
really
it's
possibly
stupid.
there's no good outcome out of this whatsoever.
Well,
but
yeah,
does the BDO think there's a good outcome out of this?
Well,
Or
no.
do you think they're doing it strictly out
I
of
don't
revenge?
think I don't think that they got a brain in their collective head. I think when the BDO gets in a room, if you add up all their IQs and maybe there's 5 people and their IQ's 1,000, by the time they're done, their group IQ's like 40. They come up with all sorts of stupid stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Which is, committees are like that sometimes. But obviously, it affects us. It doesn't affect me because I could, I wouldn't go to the Winmore Masters anyway. Right?
Yeah.
What for? I'm going to go play some league tournament in England and spend I don't know how much for airfare and all this stuff just so I can go play those guys? I mean, playing in the PDC is something else. I mean, that's the real deal.
Right.
So what kind of pride as a player do you get playing in a minor league event, even if it is in another country? What's the point? What do you get out of it? You get nothing. It's silly. And the ADO's association with the BDO, I think, needs to come to an end. They just need to be done with this. And I don't know. Can we talk about the PDC now?
Sure,
Can
we
talk?
can.
Okay, now we're going to talk about real darts. Let's talk about real.
Would you like to
darts.
take a deep breath real quick and
I am
then
so annoyed because the PDC does everything so
get
well.
your zen going?
Like if you look at the preliminary rounds that they've had in the championship so far, you've got one of their former youth champions played a match we're going to talk about, and then their most recent youth champion, played pretty well. He lost, and, I don't know. There was a 16-year-old kid from, I think he was Dutch, that played, pretty well. I don't think you can expect 16-year-olds to dominate. I don't think they have the emotional maturity,
right.
but
I wouldn't think so.
They obviously have games.
Unless they just get into a role and just don't miss, which is possible. But
it's not possible in steel. It's possible in soft tip. Like I was watching Lawrence Illigan's match very, very closely because I think, and I was glad he dumped the dish towel. This is the guy that used to have the dish towel over his shoulder, right? Which I thought looked absolutely silly. Well, he got rid of that, but he didn't get rid of his accordion arm. And I'm like, you can get away with a blatant fundamental flaw like that in soft tip, but you cannot get away with it in steel. If you have a fundamental flaw so striking that I can spot it in 3 darts, then you have a serious issue.
Yeah.
And if you look at, there was one soft tipper, I don't want to say his name, but he looks very unorthodox. He's one of the top soft tippers. And I watched that guy for 20 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I see now how he can deliver a dart accurately, but you have to look really closely to see if he has the kind of flaws that will kill you.
For steel? Or just for
well, for anything. I mean, I saw him at a steel. I got to study him at a steel tournament, so I was kind of like, okay, let me kind of see, what this guy's got going. There's another guy from New York that has the same sort of like kind of chicken wing throw, and I looked at it very closely, and I'm like, okay, as long as he does it that way, he'll be okay. I mean, you can overcome fundamental flaws, but you cannot throw darts from a teeter-totter.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah.
So, I wasn't surprised that Lawrence went down, and he played good, but the margin for error that you have in soft tip is so much greater that a lot of these soft tippers have fundamental flaws that get exposed. From a technical standpoint, the fact that, steel's a different game and, like calculating your outs and setting things up, that's different too. I have the same problem when I play soft tip. It's just the numbers work out different. You end up throwing at different stuff, and they got all these different rules to play by, and it's like, whatever. Like the diddling. Because literally you can throw at a bull in soft tip when you're diddling, and there's already 5 darts in there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I mean, it's like, who invented this? Who invented this rule, and why haven't you changed it by now? Who's running the show? See, that's the thing about soft tip. Nobody's running the show. It's just individual board manufacturers and individual leagues that are good at collecting money, but not really too good at managing a sport.
Right.
None of them have sport experience. None of them were like baseball executives or worked in a front office for a professional organization. Right. None of them did.
Right.
And to their credit, they've made themselves a lot of money by exploiting a bar game.
Yes.
Right? So, good for them. They haven't exploited me, but they've exploited, thousands of players who, Lord knows how much money, how many quarters they've stuck in, and how much of that money. I'm still waiting for a figure on that. How much of every quarter you play? Yeah, well, not so much back to the players. How much of it do you have a shot at winning back?
Oh, right.
Right? It's going to be a low percentage,
yes.
I'm pretty sure. I'm getting off the track. I am so irritated today. I am just like, man, that BDO thing was the last straw. I was
set you over the edge.
The players are going to have to figure out some way to take control of the sport away from people like that.
You say this every week,
and yet
pretty much.
It hasn't happened yet.
Not yet.
We've been doing the show for a year. Enough's enough.
Right.
Okay. Oh, there's other people on my hit list today. Let me tell you, I got a long list here.
A laundry list.
I got a long list.
Yeah.
No, back to the PDC though.
That was a hit list, right? It didn't start with an S.
Deep breath.
Okay.
A little bit of dead air never hurt anybody. Barney played good. Van Barneveld played. I think he averaged like 108. Played absolutely stellar darts. Was never really pushed. But for the most part, like the top guys in the first round, sleepwalking, lollygagging.
Yeah. So how many hours did you watch?
I have probably watched since the last show 50 hours
Yeah.
of darts, maybe 40. You know, and it's funny if you're going to watch darts for like 4, 5, 6 hours. It's very hard to actually stare at the screen the entire time. I mean, you kind of end up doing other things, and you listen to the audio, and when something else happens, you know.
You turn your head and
Yeah,
you look
right.
in.
So it's kind of like that. Taylor looked. Taylor played really bad.
Yeah.
For Taylor. Oh, he played like way below. He played way below his average bad
right.
game. Yeah, he played absolutely
not just his
horrible,
standards,
and still wasn't even pushed.
Yeah.
This guy had quit before the girls walked him out.
For the minute he knew he was playing Phil Taylor?
It was insane.
Think?
The walk-on girls that
Yeah.
they have, you know, that they take you down the aisle, you know, before the match. Now they have cheerleaders in like college football cheerleader garb,
Okay.
you know, bare midriff, doing some sort of wacky cheer as they're going up there, and I'm like, yeah, okay. I have no objection to it.
That'll get your mind going for
I have
darts.
no objection to it whatsoever. I just was sort of like amazed. But the jet lag open, I thought Lawrence actually, you know, handled it pretty good. So I'm hopeful tomorrow that Darren can play well.
Right.
I'm going to be rooting very hard for Darren. I was rooting for all the Americans in Hong Kong. It didn't work out too good, but that format that they're playing
In Hong Kong.
yeah, this, you know, although the semis and the finals were best of 7, still doesn't strike me as a format that's going to identify the best player.
Right.
It may identify, you know, who's having the best day, and, you know, the matches, you know, a lot of them were pretty close, went down to the last leg and stuff, which is kind of like, well, yeah, if you're going to keep, you know, giving the loser the start, you know, in the second leg, yeah, the matches are going to be closer. I asked somebody a couple years ago at the Bullshooter why they did that, and they're like, so you dump more quarters in. I'm like, huh. Okay.
There you go.
After having dropped the first 2 legs, I was like, oh, and I get to go first again? Oh, maybe I'll win one. And I ended up going into the 5th leg, and I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. You know? But that whole Darts Live format comes down to you're going to have to win cricket going second. There's just no doubt about it.
Right.
And I guess Gary Mawson lost to a guy who picked 501 the last leg or something like that, which, I don't know.
Put him into shock.
Well, it didn't work out because he ended up losing, but I think the only mistake I really made in the odds was underestimating how much smarter the Americans are at cricket than the Far East guys, although it still didn't work out too good. We'll get to those results. I got those in the back of my head.
Right.
Okay. I wrote down, these are my notes from just some stray notes that because I wanted to focus on one particular match because I thought it was fascinating on like a number of levels.
You want to take a break and come back to it?
Are we up for a break? Okay, yeah. Okay, so we're going to come back and we're going to talk about John Bowles and Jamie Caven. So you're listening to Dart Talk with Steve and Mark, and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back for the
Second half. Yes.
Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Where were we? I've still got a list of things I'm mad about.
Just getting on the PDC. You're about to talk about your favorite match in the PDC.
Well, it wasn't just my favorite. And again, this is, I got some issues with these guys that they got calling the darts. I really miss Sid Waddell because these guys, not only are they homers, but they're playing favorites. Like they were saying that the Mervyn King Dean Winstanley match, which you correctly predicted, by the way,
okay,
was like the best match of the week, and I don't think it was even close to as good a match as John Bowles and Jamie Caven. So let me set this up for you. Jamie Caven is a former youth champ.
No, but why would you think they thought that other match?
Because they said so.
No, but just because they're homers? Is that why you're thinking?
Well, no, because these are like stars. Dean Winstanley's an up-and-coming guy that just came over from the BDO, and Mervyn King is one of the top players in the PDC. So naturally, they have to hype them more than Jamie Caven, although they were hyping him pretty good, and John Bowles. So get this. John Bowles is like in his 40s, right? He, I guess, used to be a rugby player, but he like hurt his arm and had to quit rugby, so he took up darts, right? Jamie Caven.
With his other arm?
Well, yeah, they didn't say which one was broken. I was assuming that he broke his left arm because he, didn't look like he was having any arm problems. He didn't have any arm problems at all. Jamie Caven is a youth champion. So you got a guy who's groomed to be a professional dart player from, I don't know, the age of 12 or, however,
whenever they start.
Yeah, whenever they started, right? Yeah. And you got a guy who's picked up darts, later in life. Maybe he used to play like with his buddies in the pub or whatever, but he can't play rugby anymore, and he wants to compete. So here he is, playing darts, which is kind of how I took up darts, right? I got to an age where I couldn't play basketball anymore. My ankles were shot.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to go out and play something and be competitive.
Right.
And I darts I just liked right away, and I was like, oh, I could practice this at home. I don't have to go to the driving range and pay greens fees and everything. Well, this is like totally cool, and I got decent in a fairly quick amount of time.
Yeah,
quicker than anybody I've ever heard of. But anyway, so these are the opponents, right? You've got the older guy and the younger guy. You've got the kid who's been like darts in his hand at birth.
So to speak, right?
So to speak,
yeah. Versus,
this guy who just decided to, start playing darts, right? So that was a nice, contrast. I think we got that guy parked. The guy's got
exhaust is coming in.
The exhaust is coming in through the air conditioner again.
Through the ducts again, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's happening. Okay, so that was one thing, and then the other thing is like this. I think, and. It gets the fans geeked up to throw ton 80s, and I get that. But I've never been one of these guys where it's like, ooh, I threw a ton 80, I'm going to like jump around. I would rather just keep throwing ton 40s all day long.
Yeah.
And I think that's all you really need to do. You don't have to
But I don't think most. I mean, how many professional dart players really get amped up and throwing ton 80s anymore? It's just for the crowd.
Well, yeah, but that amps you up. I mean, these guys, some of these guys were playing with a lot of adrenaline. Other guys looked like, why'd you wake me up for this?
Another Sunday afternoon.
Like Adrian Lewis and James Wade and Phil Taylor all looked almost like they resented the fact that they had to play this match, that they should just get a bye.
Okay.
And instead of, having to get up, drive across town and play these guys, which they, won pretty easily anyway, so maybe they have a point. But anyway, so Caven and Bowles are playing. And so my note there was that ton 40s are the new tons. Mm-hmm. The level of play overall is increasing on the steel side now to the point where
a ton isn't good enough.
It's just that ton 40s are so routine now where, 15 years ago when you could win a world championship averaging 93, which is a top-level BDO match, which probably isn't going to get you out of the round of 16 in this championship. It may not get you out of the round of 32. I mean, there's going to be some tough matches coming up. So, I wrote that down. I thought it was kind of cool. But in this match, it was... The reason it was compelling wasn't just that you had this great contrast between the two players, but they kept trading breaks. And every single leg they played, and I don't know if it was a 2-hour match or how long, but I mean, it went all 5 sets and it went extra legs, was that they were always right on each other's butt. Mm-hmm. I mean, they just kept, matching, ton 40s for ton 40s. A guy would throw like a ton 80 and a ton 40, and the other guy would go like ton 80. So they were always kind of right there at the finish, putting pressure on each other. And there were only 2 really, really spectacular legs that I've seen so far that are just sort of like, if you want to learn how to win, watch this leg. And one of them was in this match, and then the other one was actually Mark Webster, who we kind of ripped him. Okay. When we were talking about our picks, about how he's had a terrible year, and he was ripe for the taking and stuff. He blew, I don't know how many darts at a double and lost a set, right?
Okay.
So that's that. We'll talk about the sets leg thing, because I want to get your take on that. So he comes right back, and his opponent is all geeked up because he won a set he shouldn't have won, and he's like, ton 40, ton, no, he went ton 80, ton something to leave 96, 85. He went ton 80, ton 85 to leave 96 after 9 darts, and Webster took out a 145 for a 12 darter.
Oh, really?
So his opponent throws 9 darts, has 96 left, and doesn't get a look at it.
Yeah.
He was done. End of story. That was
impressive.
Coming off of a leg where you blew a set, and it's your throw, and this guy's trying to break you, and you're just la-di-da-di-da, 145 out, like it's nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's impressive. But more impressive was John Bowles. And I got to tell you, this is the thing that I took away from this, because we did get to see a lot of youth players, and we're going to have to move on to this other stuff. So we're going to have to get off the PDC. But the one thing that if they have this match on YouTube and anybody gets a chance to watch it, you'll learn how to win.
Okay.
You'll learn how to win a dart match. Because what happened was John Bowles, when his back was to the wall, he threw his best darts.
Right.
And he ended up checking out a 121 with the bull to, stay alive when it looked like he was doomed and all was lost, right? Whereas Jamie Caven, who's much, much younger, when things weren't going his way in the very last set, he folded like an accordion. And that's the thing that, I've seen this happen with so many players. I don't know if we ever really talk about it on the show. But guys get discouraged halfway through a leg, and you could just see them quitting.
Right.
You could just see them quitting.
But Caven's young, but doesn't he have enough tournament darts in his pocket where he's not really a young darter anymore?
How can you not be young when you're 21?
Yeah.
I mean, think about when you were 21. Did you know anything?
No. I still don't, so.
Well.
But
give yourself some credit.
Right.
I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I mean, Michael Van Gerwen's 21, and we'll see how he plays. He's been playing awesome the last few months, but being up there on that stage all by yourself,
there's no measure for experience. When it all
you're up there all alone. I mean, there's guys running around. I got into it with somebody. I don't know. Maybe it was in Columbus. He's like, yeah, we're a team. And I'm like, what do you mean you're a team? You're not a team. You guys may share the same sponsor, but you're not a team. And if that's going to be...
you brought that up last week or a couple
I found that
weeks ago.
irritating, and then he got mad at me because, I didn't really start out saying it that way.
Yeah.
I kind of said something else, right? Which I kind of said I was sorry about, but I meant what I said because... my attitude is like, look, if you're going to go running around marketing yourself as a team under the blanket of some sponsor, why should anybody patronize your sponsor? I've collected all these guys to come and beat you. Now buy from me? How about we boycott you?
Right, exactly.
How about why on earth would I ever buy anything from you when you're out to get me and all my friends? It's silly. And then if you signed 50 players, well then, okay, I guess, that's kind of what happened when L-Style started. They started signing all these players and then being like, ooh, look, L-Style did this, L-Style did this. And I'm like, really? These guys didn't win before L-Style? They never won a match?
Yeah.
But you had so many people signed. It was like inevitable that, an L-Style guy was going to win. You got 15 guys in the tournament with L-Style patches. L-Style is going to win one once in a while. right? I mean, it stands to reason.
Right.
But the marketing, it would be so much better if L Style would say, you know what, we're going to contribute $5,000 to this tournament and raise the prize money and let everybody play for it. And I said that like a year ago.
Yes.
And they did, to their credit. They put money into some of these tournaments, and I think that that's a much better way. If you want to market a business, you're much better off putting the money into a tournament. Right?
Correct.
Have the, and I'm trying to, the dartzone.com, we've talked about that because, I'm after us having a, national championship. I'm like, why can't you sponsor that and get this together and we'll, make it, the, U.S. national championship, brought to you by the Dart Zone and, whatever. I think it'd be great, great idea. It's like I would prefer that he gave me $100,000 and sponsored me, but, I don't deserve it. And I don't think anybody does, but I just think it would be better to do it that way. And you still sponsor players and everything, but I don't know.
Yeah,
because
but it's better to market yourself through the tournament than through 15 guys in the tournament.
When you think about all the darters that are going to be there, wouldn't they have a more positive opinion of you than some guy who's wearing a patch and was rude to them after they won?
15 guys saying how we're with,
or whatever. I mean, I just think that that's a better marketing plan. It's just, for what it's worth. All right, where are we? I'm just rambling on. Let's take a break. We got to do the King of New York. We got to do the King of New York. So we'll do New York, and this will be quick. We'll be right back. Okay, back for the fourth quarter. Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
The DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks to Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. New York.
New York.
I mean, we've been doing the results for the DPNY, and they had a nice little setup. They've got a venue that installed, permanent camera ports, and it'd be nice if they invested in a better camera that could zoom in a little better. But it was kind of nice. They had they're like ceiling mounted. They had one on the board and one on the scoreboard, so you could follow what was going on
from a distance.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know how far back the cameras were, but the only thing that I would say, and I thought it was excellent that they could do this and to show like a bar event, like this. The geography of the bar wasn't really good for watching. Like, it was kind of like one of those it looked to me, you couldn't really pan. They didn't have a camera that could pan around, but it looked to me like one of those long, narrow city bars.
Okay.
So I don't know quite, and I heard people that were there, and I heard there were like 40, 50 people there, but it wasn't like they were all watching and cheering and behind the players, sitting behind the players or anything. I think the geography prevents that from happening. But it was a very high level of darts.
Kind of like the bar that you're not allowed to go into, or that you don't choose not to go into now? Like that setup?
Oh, that place?
Kind of where the dartboard, because you can't sit behind the dartboard.
No, you really couldn't. So if you had, it's kind of like that. I mean, a long, narrow, I mean, it was a little different, but
same concept. You just can't sit behind the dartboards and watch the players play.
Right. And that's, the one bar in Chicago that would be interested in this, that I've talked to. I haven't talked to Kevin, and he might say that he's interested. I just don't know how logistics would work out for something like that. I'm not sure that you'd be able to do it there
in that
either.
venue either.
So I don't know. We'll have to see. I was very jealous. Congratulations. You said.
Congratulations
To George Timpone. He is king
George
of New York.
Timpone is king of New York. All
He
right.
knocked off Jimmy Witt 11-8 in the final, and beat John Gambino in the semis. Beat John Gambino in the semis. I'm trying to figure out a nice way of saying how badly he smacked this guy.
7-.
He just rained on this guy. And John Gambino, I had watched him in the round before play very well, and he just had no answer.
Yeah.
It was at one point, I think it was like 6-0. He just got absolutely smoked. And then the other semi was Ryan Vanderweit against Jimmy Widmeyer, and that they were playing a race to 8, and it went right down to the very last leg.
Okay.
And in order to get there, Ryan had to take out like a ton plus out. And then the very last leg, I think Jimmy threw a 13-darter. After 12 darts, he was on a finish, and well played.
Was the final tight?
The final was not only tight, but it was a high level of darts. I actually got a good first-hand report from Phil Freed. I tried to get him on Skype, and that didn't work out too good. But we have a new setup here, so I'm hoping that we may be able to get Skype to work. I tried this setup once before. Remember when it was like a total disaster that one day?
I do remember that.
Right, okay. I thought it was
You're
the
trying
setup.
not to repeat that, correct?
Well, I thought it was the setup, and it turned out that they were having transmission problems.
Skype
which
was.
our provider.
Oh.
So now that those are fixed, I was like, maybe I could try that configuration again. Maybe it wasn't the configuration, it was actually those transmission
Yes.
problems. So hopefully, we haven't had any problems tonight. So maybe this will work. Anyway, it was a great final. At one point, it was 7-7. It was a race to 11, and then George edged ahead, stayed ahead, got an extra break in there, and it was end of story for
Nice.
Jimmy Witt. So, George is one of these guys that I don't really see because he doesn't travel much, but he won like a sponsorship package, so maybe he'll go out to more tournaments now.
Right.
We'll get a chance to see him. And if he's in Philly, I'll try to, I'll bring the
recorder.
Yeah, I'll bring the recorder.
Yeah.
We'll try to get him online. Which, speaking of interviews, okay. All three of the guys nominated for Outstanding Player and Player of the Year were out of the country.
Okay.
Right.
You had a hard
And
time
then-
getting a hold of him?
Right. And then I could not, again, get a hold of the women's most outstanding players. So rather than announce them, next week when we do the end of the year show with Jack Wagon of the Year and everything,
Right.
we'll just do all the
We'll
awards.
do all our
We'll do all the awards at the same time. And then, because I do want to get a word in with Darren. He said he'd come on the show, but he's in England right now. So
Right.
hopefully he's still in England by the time we do the
When
show.
is the show next week?
It's up to you. What Christmas is Tuesday.
Tuesday.
You want to do it on Thursday or Friday?
Probably do it on Thursday.
You want to do it on Thursday?
Yeah.
Because that's better than Friday.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had to come into town Friday anyway. And we could do some of it in the can, too. We could take this offline, but
Pardon me?
we could
I'm not
do
doing
it.
a show in the can with you.
No, it kind of feels like it's a
That would
can
be-
sometimes.
yeah.
We have to sit close together.
Right.
I am going to be working on. We'll have the website up pretty soon. I actually looked at it.
Okay.
I've been doing
That's
some
a
other
plus.
things. Well, I've been doing some other things, but we'll start getting the
Just
the
checked it
website
to
up
make sure
there.
it was still there.
Dude, I couldn't remember my password, and I was so embarrassed. And I was like, "Oh man, I don't want to send an email saying, oh, by the way, I forgot my password." So I did remember it anyway, but
Eventually,
it's kind of
yeah.
like, give me a break. What did we not get to? We talked about the cheerleaders. See, I thought for sure you were going to ask me what an accordion arm was, and you never did.
I got a decent idea.
You got a decent idea?
I know how an accordion folds in and out.
Right. Okay. I can't think
I
of
didn't
one
know there
top
was-
player with an accordion.
I didn't know there was more to it than.
It has to do. Oh, did I tell you what I did in place of
No,
the Darts Live? Oh, I didn't tell you.
you did not.
Well,
You did. What do you mean by in place of Darts Live?
because I was going to
Since
watch
you-
Darts Live at 1 in the morning,
Oh,
but it
right, but
turned
there was
out that they
nothing-
weren't going
yeah.
to stream it because they're misguided people
So, yeah.
that need help.
You had 3 hours.
And I
to
will
kill.
help them for free.
Right.
If they ask me, I will tell them, here's what you do, okay? Because you had a lot of people disappointed. You know, you build up an audience. You build up an event so you have an audience,
Were
and then
on
you stiff
Twitter
the
from
audience.
1 to 4, sitting there tweeting about how...
No, you know what I did? I set up a couple of high-speed cameras here and played 30 legs of 5-0.
Oh, really?
And,
okay.
And I'll show you after the show. You should see the super slow-mo.
Really?
You can see everything that you do.
Throwing a dart?
Well, because I'll tell you, I didn't have a very good year this year. I underperformed. But I did something on purpose that I thought was going to help my overall game. And it didn't.
Until you saw it on camera in slow-mo?
Well, when I saw it on camera and I saw how pronounced it was, I was like, that's it for that. I'm done with this. But it was great. What I did was I took a camera on the tripod there, and I stuck it underneath the board, directly spot on underneath the board, like about 3 feet off the ground, 2.5 feet off the ground, and then pointed it at me. So I could see exactly, what I was doing. And then at the same time, I had another camera giving me a profile angle. Then I had another camera that was like off to the side of the board. So I had 3 different perspectives. So I could analyze everything I've done. And I've decided that my hair looks awesome.
There you go.
So I don't think
you're keeping it.
I don't think it's the hair that's messing up my game.
Right.
I really don't. So I don't know. I found
so
that
you were doing this at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I got out of here about 2:15.
Nice.
You talk about dedicated to darts.
Yeah.
I mean, could anybody be
Or not having to get
more
up and work the
insane?
next morning.
It was Sunday.
Oh, it was Sunday.
I've been working around here, man. It's brutal, I'll tell you. Are we done? Can we be done?
No, not necessarily.
All right, so next Thursday.
Next Thursday we will have the show.
What time? You want to do it?
You might as well do it at the same time. Unless you want to do it an hour early.
Well, it may be a long show is what I'm thinking, because I want to do justice to, the people that we're honoring.
Yeah, let's start at 6:30 then.
How about 7?
7.
Start at 7?
All right.
That's a nice round number. Okay, so next Thursday, and I'll post this, we'll do our special year-end show. 27th? Is that
27th.
it? All right, so December 27th at 7 p.m. Central.
Correct.
Which is, I don't know what in Greenwich.
Nor
1
do
in
I
the
care.
morning. You don't care?
No. Why would I care what time it is in Greenwich?
Dude, do you realize what countries they're listening to us in? I looked at the analytics. I can't. We got people in Uganda,
Really?
Brazil. I'm like, Brazil?
It has to be a mistake.
It's no mistake, man. I'm telling you. So
anyway,
anyway,
what you're saying is I should care what time it is in.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Uganda.
so we could tell them what time the live broadcast is. Absolutely. I mean, everybody's getting it off of iTunes anyway, but it's okay. We'll keep putting it up on YouTube. Anyway, you can always email us, darttalk@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @darttalk.
Right.
We're on tunein.com. We're on stitcher.com. We're on iTunes. Soon we'll be on darttalk.us. Got anything else?
Soon we'll have a website.
That's darttalk.us. That's the website.
Okay.
Dart Talk Us. Dart Talk Us.
Dart Talk Us?
Dart Talk Us.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, for Mystery Mark, Steve Panunciaman.
Everybody have a Merry Christmas.
A very Merry
holiday.
Christmas and a Happy Holiday if you prefer that. And we will dart talk to you next week. Everybody take care.
Later.